Good evening. You are listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast by Power 88 Dean Radio. I am Adam Wright along with Justin Tucker. So we are actually recording this with the two of us side by side for the first time in a really long time. Actually, I think it was not since last semester, I believe, when we were roommates. And so now we're back, and we are here to recap a little bit of some Week 3 action. We had a lot of quarterback injuries. We have a lot of teams that started 0-2 and 2-0 that we'll go over. But first, we have a birthday boy amongst us.
Perfect. Who's the birthday boy?
Mr. Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
On this day, back in, 2001? 2002?
Yes, 2001.
Back in 2001, Justin Tucker was born.
Yes, he was.
The famous Ravens fan.
Mm-hmm.
And we will go over that game.
We'll get to that.
Crazy game.
We'll
that
get to
Sunday
that game.
night game against the Chiefs, where they finally pulled off a victory against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Hasn't happened in a while. But anyways, happy birthday, buddy.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
Anyways, we are going on to first off, we have a lot of injuries that happened. So just to go down the list, Tua Tagovailoa for the Miami Dolphins went down with a ribs injury. He's questionable. Tyrod Taylor, hamstring injury.
Out.
He's out for next week. Derek Carr is questionable with an ankle. Carson Wentz out next week
with both
ankle sprains. And then Andy Dalton, he is out for next week as well. So Justin, do you have any thoughts on all of these injuries that piled up for quarterbacks?
Carson Wentz just has the worst luck ever, and that's including Andrew Luck, who missed the majority or some of his career due to injuries. Carson Wentz had 2 ankle injuries in the same game. I don't know how that happens. It's unfortunate what's happening to his career. Hopefully he can play Sunday, but my God, his injuries.
See, I've always thought so highly of Carson Wentz. You know, he's a guy who he came right out of the gates, and he had an MVP caliber season before tearing his ACL. And it's just been injury after injury after injury. So I just wonder, is Carson Wentz one of those players who's just never going to reach full health and he's just impossible to rely on? I just don't think you can rely on this guy.
It's unfortunate to say. I wish he could stay healthy. When he's healthy, he's a beast, but he hasn't been healthy since 2017?
Yeah, not since his the campaign where he almost won league MVP.
And if you want to be generous, it'd be 2019, a whole year later, 2 years later.
Yeah, when he's been healthy, he's been solid. Just the issue is, I wonder if, and lately he hasn't been that good even when he has been healthy. So you wonder if these injuries have been kind of getting to him. But anyways, to go through some of these other injuries, Derek Carr, I hope he can go because he's having an MVP caliber season so far. He's off to a really hot start through these first 2 weeks. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but this is about as good as Derek Carr has been since his 2016 campaign when he was an MVP candidate then as well. So it's great start for Derek Carr. I hope he can go.
I hope he can go too. He's helping that team win games against the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. There we go. And now they're 1-1 as well. So congratulations to the Oakland Raiders, Derek Carr. We wish you a safe bill of health.
Same here. I mean, wow, what a start to his. And he beat 2 solid teams as well, the Steelers and the Ravens. Those aren't easy teams to beat. Right, right, Justin.
You calling me Brian on my birthday?
Happy birthday. Brian's out tonight, by the way. Anyways, there's also Andy Dalton, which is an intriguing one because this means because he's going to miss at least 1 week now, we get to see Justin Fields start his first game.
Yeah, doesn't make me. Hold on, wait, time out. They could say Nick Foles, it's still your time. They could say that.
You think so?
I hope they do. I'm not sure if I'm ready for Justin Fields to take over this offense yet.
I don't think Nick Foles is still on the roster, is he?
I thought he was. I don't think they replaced him yet. Either or, I'm just not prepared for Justin Fields to take that start yet. After looking over his game, Sunday, I'm not sure if I want him in there just yet. I know he can make plays with his arm and his feet. It's just maybe a couple more weeks to iron it out a bit before I'm like, all right, maybe he can start.
See, I've been all for waiting for Andy Dalton to go out and Justin Fields to go in, just in good time. And the biggest issue that I have with him starting so early is the issues at left tackle. It's been a revolving door for the past few weeks, and they basically brought up some practice squad player now that they're using. I mean, that's their blind side. They made a whole movie on why that position is so important and why that's important to protecting a quarterback. And now they have nothing there, and their quarterback got hurt the week after. So you wonder if there's a correlation there. Do you really want to put your franchise quarterback in that spot?
I mean, the only thing is he can't play much worse than Zach Wilson. We will get to that.
Yeah, you don't want that. I still can't believe how bad he played.
I saw the first half and I was like, Jesus. Bill Belichick does that to rookies, to be fair. Bill Belichick will do that to you.
He picks them apart. It's just insane.
It's sad.
But it's just, man. I kind of liked Zach Wilson coming. We were speaking very highly of him just a couple of weeks ago during his preseason action. We thought he looked pretty good. Yeah. Amazing how much that can change.
But that's what preseason is.
Yeah. Or you think that you have something and then turns out
he might not.
He was just facing scrubs the whole time. Just looking good.
And now he's seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold. Funny that's a Jets issue.
It's just a Jets thing. And then Sam Darnold leaves, and the Panthers are 2-0, which we will discuss a little later on in the show. But anyways, any other thoughts on these injuries? We have Tua Tagovailoa that we didn't go over. We have Tyrod Taylor. Anything on those two?
Yeah, the quarterback situation in Miami is less than desirable now that Tua's hurt. I know Jacoby Brissett is now the starting quarterback, and he can win you some games, but I'm not sure they're a playoff caliber team now. Or they're even close to that, and they barely were with Tua.
Yeah, you wonder if Tua's even the guy, to be honest. I mean, I've always liked Tua, but he hasn't really impressed since he's come onto the scene.
I think he's done. He did against the Chiefs. I like what he did against the Chiefs.
Like, he's been all right. I'm not trying to say he's been bad, but I mean, Tua, we expected this. He was a highly touted prospect coming out of college. Yeah. I mean, before the slogan for the number 1 overall pick was blow for Burrow. Yeah. It was tank for Tua. Yeah. And now it's not. Then it just turned into like he's kind of been the forgotten guy, but he was a very highly touted prospect, and now he's kind of just. He's a forgotten. He's an afterthought.
He's an afterthought. Yeah, a little, but hopefully he can get better and play better as a second-year player now.
Yeah, but anyways, on the other, just to address the other guy, Tyrod Taylor, briefly, I think we forget how serviceable Tyrod Taylor can be as a starting quarterback. Quarterbacking this depleted Texans roster, they still do have some pieces with Kiki Cutie, Brandon Cooks, Mark Ingram can be all right. Who else do they have? They have Danny Amendola.
You mean Danny playoffs?
It's Danny week 1. Danny regular season. But the point still stands. They have some pieces, and they were able to win a game, and they were competitive against Cleveland for a little bit. So it's sad to see Tyrod go out. He's obviously not a franchise guy, but he's proven himself to be a solid quarterback in this league.
Yeah, They're 1-0 right now, thanks to him.
So 1-1. It's Cleveland.
Oh,
they got destroyed by Cleveland. Mm-hmm. But as I said, they held their own for a little bit.
At least they're 500 for now.
For now. Mm-hmm. For now. All right. Well, next off, we have a lot of teams who we had high expectations for, or higher expectations than what they're doing, who have fallen to 0-2. And we'll talk about those teams next. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast. All right, you're listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast. I'm Adam Wright with Justin Tucker. We are going over some week 2 action, and there's a lot of at this point in the season after week 2. It's a funny spot because you think about it, and teams that go off to an 0-2 start, according to statistics, since 1995.
Yeah, around that. I think it was 98.
Since 1990, around there, teams have a 12% chance of making the playoffs if they start 0-2. So it raises some eyebrows when a team such as the Indianapolis Colts, which we had high expectations for, or the Vikings, fall to 0-2, and you wonder, could this team pull it back together, or are they just going to be like this the rest of the season? So we're going to go over, should we be concerned for this team, or should we not be concerned for this team? So, Justin, what do you think about the Vikings, who have started 0-2? They faced the Bengals and the Cardinals. Do you think we should be concerned?
Well, when I look at their record, it is cause for concern, considering I thought they would beat the Bengals. I'm surprised that they didn't beat the Bengals. But, again, I'm not sure if I'm too concerned about it. I would rather them have a win on the roster because the Packers have a win, the Lions are 0-2, and who's the other? The Bears are 0-2. So I think it would help them to have a win on the roster to help them out. Oh no, the Bears are 1-1. They just beat Cincinnati. So now the Bears are 1-1 and the Packers are 1-1. I think as far as their playoff chances, it hurt them to lose to Cincinnati. It doesn't necessarily give them the best hope of making the playoffs right now. Now, if they win, 15 straight, then no problem. But it's a little concerning that they're 0-2 right now, especially when they have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook on the roster.
Yeah, with Kirk Cousins just being serviceable, just not screwing up, kind of being that guy. So the Minnesota Vikings, this team could easily be 2-0.
Yeah.
Okay. There was the Bengals game where Dalvin Cook fumbled in overtime, and that eventually cost them the game. The game-winning field goal for the Cincinnati Bengals. Then there's week 2 where they were inside the red zone, and they had a chip shot of a field goal that they missed against the Cardinals. That was the game they had won. So these were some bad losses that you've got to have, especially in their division.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to come back, and they have the offense to do it, to compete with anybody in this division. And I think they're still going to be competitive. I'm not concerned, but I'm a little troubled by these little choke jobs that they've had.
Don't worry, they're not Atlanta level, but it's still concerning.
It just was bad. It was pretty bad. 2 of them in a row. And I love Dalvin Cook. I've had him on fantasy every year for the past 4 years. But love the guy. Bad mistake. Anyways, what do you think about the Giants? Are you concerned or you're not concerned?
I'm a little concerned only because they lost to the Washington football team. If they started off 0-2, I'm like, so what? It's the East. The East sucks. But since they have a loss to a division rival, it kind of makes things difficult for them in case it comes down to a tiebreaker. So I need them to actually have a win on their resume in order for me to be fine with them. I mean, I'm not these were two winnable games. I don't understand how you lose to the Broncos and how they. I know how they lost to the Washington football team. Dexter Lawrence happened, but I'm not even sure he jumped off sides. But at the end of the day, 0-2 is not good for the Giants. They needed that one against the Washington football team. So I'm really concerned about the Giants right now, especially since Daniel Jones actually looked like a competent quarterback, and Darius Slayton was dropping passes he should have caught.
Yeah, it hasn't looked good for the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that lost to the Broncos out of all teams.
Mm-hmm.
They also lost to the Washington football team, a game that they probably could have won.
They should have won
Thursday Night Football. And yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but the spots where they're supposed to be their strength it's turning out to be their weaknesses. Their wide receiving core has stunk lately.
Mm-hmm.
Darius Slayton has been dropping passes, who was supposed to be their number one.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Galladay's been non-existent. And next thing you know, you have
Darius
out of Sterling Shepard of all guys being their number one receiver. Yeah. That is terrible.
And then there's Kadarius Toney. As of right now, me and you have more receiving yards than him right now. And we don't play.
He has -1?
He has -4.
-4.
2 receptions for -4. I don't know how you do that. You know,
2 catches for -4. Oh, my God.
That means you have to average -2 yards per play, per catch. I don't know how you do that.
You can't even cross the line of scrimmage. He has more catches than us.
He has more catches.
For a loss.
But we have more yardage.
He has them. We have more yardage.
And touchdowns. And
why don't you sign us, New York Giants?
I think we'll do a serviceable job. But I think he'll get better. It's just he's having a rough go at it right now.
They all are. I mean, Kenny Galladay, I was really high on him going into this year. Mm-hmm. A fresh start, new quarterback. Well, not as good as a quarterback, but a better offense though, right? Much better offense than in.
Is it? Because Saquon's not 100%.
That's another one, yeah.
Yeah.
Saquon's not 100%.
I think he's not fully he doesn't trust his knee yet. Once he trusts it, I think he'll be fine. But until then, it is what it is.
But Saquon not in 100% could be better than what the Lions have had
DeAndre Swift
for most of the time. Obviously, DeAndre Swift is better right now. But before DeAndre Swift, you might be able to make a case for Kerryon Johnson for a short amount of time. But besides that, the Lions have since Barry Sanders have had a historically bad run game. Yeah, very bad. Mm-hmm. And it's made poor Matthew Stafford, poor Megatron, poor Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, all of them. But they're all free now.
Yeah.
And Kenny Galladay still isn't getting the job done. You wonder if he misses Matthew Stafford.
He probably misses him a little bit. I'm not sure if he'll miss him all the way. It's still week 2. They still got to work and figure out how the chemistry thing.
Yeah, it's early, so he has that going for him, and so do the Giants. They are 0-2, but all right,
it's the East.
Yeah, it's the East. Any team can make it. It's not where the Vikings are, where the Vikings could end up, or the Colts, which we'll touch on in just a second. The Vikings, I mean, they're in a tough division.
Yeah.
But the Colts,
they're in a tough division.
They're in a tough division with Tennessee.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a tough one to beat out.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we talked a little bit about their schedule earlier on.
Yeah.
When we found that their best offensive lineman and their quarterback got hurt, saying, well, their first 5 games are really tough.
Yeah.
And they lost both of their first games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, they are tough games. The Seahawks and the Rams, those are no easy outs.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, especially since your quarterback came back to full health early, I would hope that they could get at least 1 game.
I would have held him out. I would have held him and the guard out for that game against Seattle.
You would have held him out?
Yeah, just for precautionary reasons.
Maybe, but you got to get him up to speed. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, Carson Wentz is just unreliable. he's
just unlucky. He can't catch a break.
I mean, it's just his body. It's made of chandelier parts.
I wouldn't go that far, but I see your point.
He's just injury after injury, and you want to hold out. You want to hold out hope for the kid. You want to have
I'm pretty sure they still have Tennessee and the Ravens on their schedule too in that 5-week stretch. So it's not over yet.
It's not getting easier.
I think they also have the Dolphins. That could be a win because Tua's out, and then they have us. Well, the Titans and us. So they might be 1-4, which might all but take them out of the AFC playoff picture already.
Probably.
Because you need 11 wins to make it.
Yeah. Anyways, so this team, I included the Jaguars, but I thought because they have Trevor Lawrence, because they brought in Marvin Jones.
I'm not surprised they're in the same position as the Jets.
Because they have James Robinson, they helped out their defense a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That they did start 0-2, and they lost to the Texans as well, and they lost to the Broncos. I'm not saying they should beat the Broncos, but I felt they were around close to the same level. It's either that or the Broncos are overachieving. But they have there's two losses here that we're talking about. Giants lost to the Broncos, Jaguars lost to the Broncos, a 2-0 Broncos team. We're going to talk about them in the next segment. But I mean, I could have expected at least one win by now. By the Jaguars.
I'm fine with them being 0-2. They weren't expected to make playoffs anyhow. It's not like they had playoff expectations like the other three teams.
They don't.
They got a rookie quarterback, a rookie running back that's now out for the year, a young team. Just give this some time to build. I know Trevor Lawrence doesn't look too good right now, but he's a rookie. I personally wanted him to sit, but since he's out there now, let him take his hits, let him take his looks, and let him see what works and what doesn't work against defenses, NFL-level defenses. And hopefully by year 2, he'll figure it out and be what he's supposed to be. But until then, he's just got to go through it. Get the pain out the way now.
I agree. Like I said, I don't expect them to be a playoff team, but I expect them to show some sort of competitive edge. Since they have a bit of a rejuvenated roster somewhat, and they brought in this highly touted quarterback, I would have expected them to beat the Texans.
That's everybody thinks the Texans are like ridiculously bad because Deshaun Watson's not there and J.J. Watt's on, but
they won 4 games with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, they only won 4 games, but it's like, all right, they're facing the Jaguars. They're not a good team either. I could see them winning that game. I'm not thinking, oh my God, the Jags should have won that game. Like, no. That's a gimme game. That's it. Anyone can take that.
It's possible.
I mean, could be worse. It could be the Jets. He could look like Zach Wilson.
There could be that. And as much as he's had some turbulence, Trevor Lawrence early on in his career, he hasn't done what Zach Wilson just did.
He hasn't faced Bill Belichick yet.
He hasn't faced Bill Belichick yet. That's true. But do you think he's going to be that bad?
I hope not. I hope the cast around him is good enough so he doesn't look like that. But my God, probably I don't think he'll have like 4 completions and 4 picks. No, absolutely not.
All right, so we just went over some of the 0-2 teams that we expected to be a little better. Next, we're going to go over some 2-0 teams that either surprised us or I'm going over all of the 2-0 teams. So next we're going to talk about them. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast. Welcome back. You're listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast. I'm Justin Tucker. I'm Adam Wright, along with Justin Tucker.
All right, then.
The birthday boy.
You want to be the birthday boy now?
I'll be the birthday boy. I'd love for it to be my birthday. Anyways, I'm Adam Wright with Justin Tucker. Yeah, we got it right.
Yeah.
And we're talking some week 2. We're going over we are now going over some of the teams that just went 2-0.
Yeah.
And it's always a good feeling to be undefeated at the start of the season, even if it's just 2-0.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a lot better than 0-2. I mean, that's a hole you have to dig in.
Yep.
You have to dig out of. That's a point where, like, if you don't win the next game, you're not making the postseason.
Yeah.
If you go 0-3, you're not making it.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened before, but it's not something you want to try.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll go over if you are buying into this team or you're not buying it. Do you think this team is for real, contender or pretender? Starting with the Raiders, what do you think of the Las Vegas Raiders?
I think the thing with them is they start off strong and finish terribly. Last season. Like, I want to say yes, they're contenders because they just beat us and they just beat Pittsburgh, so that's 2 quality teams on the roster. But again, until I see the back half of the season, it's a question for concern. After these 2 quality wins, I think they're contenders if they can keep this up, and if they can compete with Kansas City like they did last year. Yes, they are contenders. Make no mistake about it. I think Derek Carr is playing at an MVP level right now. I think that offense with Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs is flying around right now. Even though they didn't have Josh Jacobs against the Steelers, they still played well enough to beat the Steelers, and that defense is no joke. So overall, I think they're contenders, but they always worry me.
So the only thing that I have with the Raiders is that, and this is a problem I had with them going into the season, is they lost a lot of their offensive line from last year is basically gone.
Yeah, Ronnie Hudson's going too.
So they lost a lot of their offensive line. That's an issue. They lost Josh Jacobs for a week. That turns out it wasn't an issue. They beat 2 teams that weren't a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Ravens and Steelers. Those teams are that's not hard. That's not easy. Right? So I hope they can keep it up. But as you said, they were in this spot last year where they started out really well. They started 3-1, and then they were 6-4, and then they just fell apart.
Yeah, they were like 6-3 at one point in time. And I'm like, all right, they're going to be a wild card team to watch out for. And next thing you know, they're not even making the wild card team. They got bounced by Miami.
Well, they finished like 6-10 or something, 7-9.
Yes,
it was something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you just have to wait and see with this team. And I don't even know if they have the team around them to maintain this level that I'm in. I mean,
if Derek Carr can continue to compete at this level, then yes, I think they can.
I'm gonna have to go with this team as a pretender here.
I think they're contenders.
They need to prove it a little more.
Yeah, I agree.
I get it. They beat 2 good teams, but I think one other thing we didn't really mention is that the Ravens and Steelers have both been smothered with injuries.
Yeah.
It's just their whole team. Both teams that have been hit by the injury bug, and they were able to beat them. But who knows if they were able to do that at full health, and who knows if they'll be able to win games.
Still, they came in and got the job done. So they're 2-0. I think they're legitimate contenders for right now.
Here's another team here.
Pretenders.
The Denver Broncos.
Pretenders.
The Denver Broncos. They beat the Giants and the Jaguars, but I guess you already have your answer. They're pretenders.
Yeah, they faced the Giants and the Jaguars. The Giants game, I'm a little surprised at because I thought Daniel Jones would look good and start off with a 1-0 record. I was wrong. The Jaguars are the Jaguars, so I expect them to go 2-15 this year. I don't know who the 2 ones are, but I don't.
You don't think they have some pieces?
Not right now. I think over time they will, but not right now. I think they got pieces here and there, but not overall to like fully sustain a team right now.
They have a very good secondary.
But they have a rookie QB, a injury-riddled running back group right now because they just lost their first-round pick. Their line is kind of suspect. Their defense is getting there. Overall, they're just not there yet. And it's just not going to happen this year for the Jags. But the Broncos, starting off 2-0, I think I smell pretenders with them. Now, I could be wrong, but pretenders.
See, I think this team is a little better than you give them credit for.
A little better?
Yeah. They have, so Jerry Jeudy's done for a little while.
Yeah.
But they still have Cortland Sutton.
Mm-hmm.
They have Tim Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
They have Noah Fant. And they still have two solid running backs in their running game with what's his name? So they have Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
And I'm blanking on their second round pick that they got.
Mm-hmm. It'll come to me sooner or later. It's just not there yet.
They got a kid in the second round who's been solid lately.
Mm-hmm.
And they still have Bradley Chubb and Von Miller on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And we already talked about that secondary that they have. They have Kyle Fuller back there.
And they have
Ronald Darby.
They have Justin Simmons, one of the best safeties in the league.
That's a good secondary with an underrated line. I think that team has more credit than we think. I think Teddy Bridgewater has exceeded my expectations so far. I think we forget how highly touted this guy was early on in his career before his ACL tear.
Highly touted.
I thought
he was a decent quarterback with the Minnesota Vikings before the tear. He went on that 5-0 record with the Saints before Drew Brees came back, and that's why he got his chance in Carolina. Now, let's not say highly touted.
Well, he was before
I wouldn't say
the ACL tear.
I wouldn't say highly touted.
In his early days in Minnesota, that was his rookie year when he took him to the playoffs.
No, it was his second year.
It was his first year starting.
Bro, I'm not going highly touted. I think he was decent to good, but I wouldn't say highly touted.
He had very good potential.
I think I may be being unfair to the Broncos because there's a guy on campus who's a Broncos fan, so every time I see the Broncos, I just see red with them right now. But I'm not. The record's just it doesn't smell like a good record right now.
All right. Well, you had a quick answer for the Broncos. Are you going to have a quick answer for the Buccaneers?
Pretty much, yeah. They're contenders. They're Super Bowl champions, and
Super Bowl favorites.
They're beating who they should beat, obviously. So.
All right. So we can agree on that one. It's an easy one. Top to bottom, that team is stacked. They have a future Hall of Fame quarterback leading the charge who's still playing well at age 44. Moving on, we have this is an interesting one. This is the Carolina Panthers. All right. They brought in Sam Darnold to replace Teddy Bridgewater, who we just mentioned.
Yeah.
Who we were just talking about. And Sam Darnold has impressed. He threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns during last game. Mm-hmm. He had a good showing the week before. Granted, it was against the Jets, but it's still a good showing.
It's the Jets.
His old team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had a very good rapport with his receivers so far, namely DJ Moore.
And Robbie Anderson.
And their defense has actually been good. It's held up better than it did last year. So you wonder if this team is actually going to be a competitive team in this league.
I think they could be. I think the NFC South has one more playoff team that could be a part of it, and I think it's the Carolina Panthers. I thought it was either between the Panthers or the Saints, but I think the Saints are kind of dying down a bit after what they did to the Packers in Week 1. I still can't get over it. But now the Panthers are showing up and being like, hey, Alvin Kamara's not taking over this game. Got me 7 points in fantasy. I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, I had him in my league too.
Gave me 7.9 points.
Single-handedly lost me the game.
Tell me about. He was supposed to get 24 and he got me 7.
I lost to Jake.
I lost to Jake this week, and
I'll love Jake. If you're
love
listening.
is a strong word. But anyway.
Wow.
Love is a strong word.
They also only face the Jets and the Saints. The Saints are clearly not the powerhouse they were, but
they can still contend. It's just
they can. They did beat the Packers last week.
But the Panthers did look good. I'm not going to say contenders yet, but I'm not as far as to say like they're pretenders either.
I'm gonna. It's not that I'm not buying in, but I'm not. I'm not sold yet, but it's been encouraging past couple of weeks, and I like what I've seen from that passing game, and obviously the rushing game with a certain running back who happens to be probably the best running back in the league, in Christian McCaffrey.
There's a lot of debate there.
Going on, we also have the 49ers.
Yeah, congrats. They struggle with the lines. That's my thing. They struggle with the lines, and that's concerning to me. It was like 41 to like 17 or 10 to that, and then all of a sudden it's like the final score is 41 to 33.
They had a 28-point lead, and they almost blew it.
I was like, hold on. I looked at my phone. I'm like, hold on. Don't do this. I have y'all on fantasy as the defense, and you guys are screwing me over. Get it together, please.
So this is a defense. This is a team where their secondary's starting to get banged up a little bit. They lost their top corner, and their offense has looked good. Yeah. Brandon Ayuk is yet to get going. He has like one catch through the entire first 2 weeks so far. Deebo Samuel's shown out. Yeah. But on paper, this team looks really good, and I think this is a team that will at least be a contender for the playoffs.
I had Brandon Ayuk in fantasy, and he got me a goose egg. He's on my bench for a while until I see him actually produce.
He's in Justin's doghouse.
It's not his. I'm not sure if it's his fault or Kyle Shanahan's fault. I just don't know. So he's there, and hopefully someone will give me enough. I want Deebo Samuel right now. If he's going to be the top dog in San Francisco.
We'll see. It's early on, so we'll see what's going on. We'll see what ends up happening.
But last but not least,
the Rams.
They're contenders. They were a playoff team last year, and they're beating somewhat quality teams, the Bears and the Colts.
That's my conference championship pick.
But again,
like I said,
my problem was they were winning decisively against the Colts, and the Colts came back. So that maybe pause for concern here. But other than that, they're still a good team. I think they'll make playoffs, but I'm not sure they're conference champions yet, or they'll make it to the conference game.
All right. Well, time will tell to see how good this team ends up being. I think that team's going to pull it together. But anyways, we're going to go on to a certain thriller game that the Ravens were a part of again. So we've had a couple of good games.
Yes.
Two great games in a row that the Ravens have been a part of. The Ravens beating the Chiefs. We're gonna recap that game next here on the Fumblerooski Podcast. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast by Power 88 Dean Radio. I'm Adam Wright with Justin Tucker. We're going over some Week 2 action, and we're going to cap it off with some Sunday Night Football.
Yes, sir.
And on Justin's birthday, we saved his best for last with the Baltimore Ravens, who beat the Kansas City Chiefs in an upset.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. Can you say that again?
The Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs have been beaten by the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, they did. Lamar Jackson did his thing now, of course.
So this is Lamar Jackson's first victory over the Mahomes-led Chiefs with the Ravens. So this was a back-and-forth game to start. It was fairly close. Then the Chiefs started to pull away. They went up 11 twice. So they went up 2 scores twice. In the third quarter, it looked like they were going to pull ahead, but the Ravens in the fourth quarter with 2 touchdowns on rush by Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, the great one.
He gets 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Chiefs get the ball back.
Yep. Clyde
Edwards-Helaire, the running back for Kansas City, he fumbles the ball away with only about, a minute left?
A minute and a half.
A minute and some change left. Ravens take a knee, they win.
That's not what happened. Fourth down and 1. We needed that 1 yard. Lamar Jackson QB powers his way to that 1 yard. The Ravens take a knee. The Ravens win. Victory is ours. Let's go. Lamar Jackson showed up, saw, conquered, overcame adversity in the first quarter when he threw those 2 picks. Now, granted, was I happy with the 2 picks? No.
Those are pretty bad picks.
Pretty bad. The first one, I'm not as mad at as the second one because Sammy Watkins did slip a little bit. If he didn't slip, I think that's a completion more so than an interception. But still, 2 picks is not how you want to start off against the Kansas City Chiefs. Because once they get to a 2-score lead, they start to bury teams. And luckily, that didn't happen to us because we kept fighting, we kept believing, we kept digging down deep to find that stuff where great teams are made of. And guess what we did? Lamar Jackson, with a Patrick Mahomes-like throw, jumps up in the air, throws it to Marquise Hollywood-Brown down the field for a touchdown. Hands it off to Latavius Murray for a touchdown, make it 14-14. What else happened? Right before the half, we charged downfield, kick a field goal. Now it's 21-17. Now, granted, I don't know why my defense is bad right now. I don't know why it is what it is, but I knew we were going to give up 30-plus to Kansas City. Don't know why we did that to Oakland or Las Vegas, but Travis Kelce did Travis Kelce things. Tyreek Hill did not kill me like I thought. Thank the heavens, Anthony Everett played amazing Sunday night. Clamping 10 is what Deshaun Elliott called him, and that's what he did. And Tyreek Hill got a little upset with that and said, wait until we see y'all again. I'm like, all right, they'll just clamp you again. But overall, game in the fourth, when it's do or die, Lamar Jackson said, we're not losing this game. Came back with 2 touchdowns. And Odafe Oweh forced Patrick Mahomes to throw an interception the first time and then made Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble it to help the Ravens steal the game. And with the game on the line, 4th and 1, Coach Harbaugh asked Lamar, do you want to go for it? Lamar, no hesitation, says, hell yeah. Oh, man, that's when I knew he was going to win that. And then he gets power, hits it up the hole. We win the game. I'm so happy. I'm giving Adam a hug. I don't give people hugs. I even had to give Jake a hug.
It felt weird. You don't give hugs. You hate hugs.
I'm not that. But I gave a hug because you asked for one. I gave you one. That was a good night for a Ravens win. We needed that one. Now we got that monkey off our back. Finally, Lamar has a win over the Chiefs. Finally, the Ravens pulled a comeback win. Down 2 scores in your face, critics. Now it's on to Detroit.
So credit to the Ravens for being able to hang with them early on, because once you get ahead, once you get that momentum shifter like that, like the Kansas City Chiefs got early on with the pick and scoring quickly on a couple drives that they had, and the Ravens just went right back down and scored and matched all of their scores. If they weren't able to do that, they would have buried them. That's usually where they say see ya to all the teams that they face. They kind of go up early and they just keep on tacking on points to the point where it's just the game's over already.
Yep.
So they hung in there, and then when it was crunch time, Lamar Jackson made more plays than Patrick Mahomes did. It's basically. Did you like how I was?
Yeah. No one ever thought they would say that.
Speaking positive of your quarterback there.
I'm like, yes, he's proven himself to y'all to show y'all he can win the big games. Like he didn't prove that already last year. Now that we got that one over Patrick Mahomes, that just cements it even more. Now that he has a win over the Kansas City Chiefs. About
damn time.
That's how we all feel. But I'm glad it happened on Sunday night.
Very good game, to be honest. Just as a football fan, I'm a fan of neither team. I'm just a Patriots fan, but just watching those two teams go at it, that was a great game. We've had some great primetime games. The Thursday night game against it was the Giants and the Washington football team.
Taylor Heineke.
Monday Night Football with those two, with Ravens and Raiders going at it. during week 1.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible. But anyways, we're just about ready to wrap up the show. But first, we want to hear from you. That's right. We're going to go into our Fumblerooski fan box, look at all of your responses and everything. We're going to give you guys a shout out, and we're going to talk about your takes. That's next here on the Fumblerooski Podcast. All right, and we're back for our last segment. We are going to hear from you guys on our fan section. We love getting feedback from our listeners. We love hearing what you guys have to say. So without further ado, our first guy. Do you want to name off our first guy?
The first guy's name is Patrick Willever 22, and he says, "Greg the leg for the win."
So it's also, I forgot to mention the question of the week. The question of the week was, what was one play that you guys, what was the best play that you guys saw from week 2? So it says Greg the leg for the win. He hit a 56-yard field goal for the win.
And that wasn't even the longest this week. I think Matt Prater hit a 62-yarder against Minnesota.
Yeah, what a week for kickers.
But nice job, Greg the leg.
Such a bounce back game for Greg Zerline too,
yeah.
Since he missed 3 field goals the week before. It's so out of character for him to miss field goals like that. He's been widely considered one of the best kickers in the league for years.
Yeah.
And the past couple of years hasn't been great for him. But what we saw last week, that was vintage Greg Zerline. Greg the leg. I love the
Legatron.
I like that too. I like the nickname though. That's very
original.
Yeah, it's very creative. All right, Nikki D1124 said the Pats double pass.
Bill going into his playbook, his trickeries.
I love when Bill Belichick digs into the playbook and just dials up the trickery, and it just turns on New England fans across New England when they're just looking at him. They're like, "Oh, Bill! Oh, Bill. Yes, Bill!" It's unbelievable. It is cool to watch though. He's such a great coach and such a creative. Such a great football mind. And seeing that play, especially after a tough year like last year, that was just so cool. But all right, do you want to go to familiar face?
I don't know who this person is. Let me see. B Mucker 730.
Who do you think that is?
The one and only Brian Mucker.
Brian, who's out tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But for those of you who don't know, Brian Mucker used to be one of our co-hosts here on this show, but every once in a while you hear from him. And so he actually responded to our fan box this week. And do you want to finish off?
He said Lamar Jackson flipping into the end zone. Damn straight it was.
That was a pretty cool play.
Uh-huh.
It was a little bit of a showboat, but
it was for the lead. Oh my God, that meant everything for us.
He didn't need to do that, though.
He didn't need to, but he got up and started and threw the ball into the crowd. That hyped everybody up. Yes, sir.
Well, Brian, you got Lamar Jackson you got Justin hyped up.
Yeah.
But anyways, you have any other thoughts before we end the show here?
Nah. It's been a good show.
Always a good show when you get to talk about your Ravens on your birthday after a win.
Yeah, after a win, and the Patriots won today, so it can't be all bad.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
on
off
Sunday.
It was off 4 picks by Zach Wilson. Feels more like the Jets lost it than the Patriots winning it, but I'll take it. A win's a win.
A win's a win.
All right. Anyways, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Spotify, Spreaker, and Google Podcasts. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with podcast in the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Happy birthday, Justin.
Thank you, man.
Over and out.
Bye, guys.